Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another day, another week, and another off season here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis with you, coming off a heartbreaking end to the Jets season on the weekend, an overtime loss in Game 6 in Dallas. And the Dallas Stars move on to take on the Edmonton Oilers. We have so much to get to today on the program. We had hoped that we would have been doing a special show yesterday, getting ready for Game 7. And even more so hoped that the Winnipeg Jets would be planning on hosting the Edmonton Oilers this week, but it wasn't meant to be. But the emotions in and around the final game, coming off the horrible news in the morning of Game 6 that Mark Scheifele's father, Brad, had passed away, I think in a lot of ways put everything into perspective. This was an amazing season for the Winnipeg Jets, where they accomplished a lot. Do you feel that it's a missed opportunity? I would say, yeah. I mean, I think the Vegas Golden Knights probably felt that they were a Stanley Cup contender, and it's a missed opportunity. Certainly here in Winnipeg, you would say the same thing. I think it goes without saying that they're feeling like it was a missed opportunity in Toronto. But the one thing that I'll say is that in amongst everything going on around this team and the horrible news of the passing of Mark's father, the courage that Mark showed on Saturday, the leadership that Adam Lowry showed, and the rest of this team, and the way that they battled together right until the final buzzer and that overtime goal that ended their season. I think it made everybody proud to be fans of the Winnipeg Jets, to support this team. And we're going to get into a lot of big time off-season conversations, because this is there's some huge decisions to be made. There's some major, very important players that need to be re-signed. And obviously Nikolai Ehlers, who is an unrestricted free agent on July 1st, at the top of that list. But today, we're going to look back at this series. We're going to look back at Saturday night, and then get into some of the comments we're hearing today from Winnipeg Jets, who are clearing out the lockers and meeting with the media. We'll have some Josh Morrissey. We'll have Connor Hellebuck, Mason Appleton, who I'm not sure whether he's slept since game number 6 after not being able to convert on this glorious chance in the third period with the wide open net, who's also going to be an unrestricted free agent. We'll hear from a number of the Winnipeg Jets, over the course of the next couple days. Arneal and Chevy will be speaking tomorrow, so we'll certainly have all of that for you and break it down here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. And Mike McIntyre's down at the rink today. He's going to join us in and around 2 p.m. today. And we'll get Mike's eyewitness account from being there with the players today. But first, we'll hear from a number of them. It is opening day for baseball season here in the Peg, though. Got the Goldeyes jersey on today. We'll be down at the ballpark tonight. Looking forward to game number 1 of the home schedule. Andrew Collier is going to jump on with us at around 2:30 today to tee up the home opener and the home schedule. And I will mention this while I've got it right here. First 5,000 fans tonight going to get their hands on this Goldeyes jersey that they're giving out to everyone. So if you don't have tickets already, jump on that. We got postgame fireworks tonight. I will have a full report of the food and beverage situation at the ballpark after being tonight. So anyways, we'll looking forward to having Andrew on. And our pal Jake Bolin was going to come on and do the Coolbet lines with me today. We'll have a wellness check there, because this is one thing. And again, we're going to be focusing on the Jets. The Leafs probably get too much attention as it is. But when you look at the way that our team went out and the way the Leafs went out in Game 7 against the Florida Panthers, you saw two very different teams, two very different organizations, and two very different situations. And I think most Winnipeg Jet fans are feeling pretty good about, what this team was able to accomplish this year, the direction that they're going. And as I said, we'll stand behind this team despite falling short of their ultimate goal. Whereas in Toronto, you saw it go completely off the rails. Jerseys and beers on the ice, and Mitch Marner getting booed every time he touched the puck, and probably his final game with his hometown team, the Toronto Maple Leafs. So you don't need to look very far to see a very different situation of a team that went out in the same round. But we'll do a wellness check on Jake, and he'll pop on a little bit later on. We'll get to our picks. Assiniboia Downs is back at it today, but get into a little baseball and some more hockey talk later on, but we really will be focusing in on the end of the season from the Winnipeg Jets and a performance in particular by Mark Scheifele that I don't think anyone will ever forget. Listen, just before we get into it and get Michael Remis in here, I do want to thank the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, Rollies Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center, Canadian Club, Manitoba Battery, Aikens Lake and F Apparel, Prairie Toyota Dealers, Ben Moss, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, Goldeyes, Assiniboia Downs, Breezy Bend. We'll get to your fan feedback for fansfirst.ca, and of course a Why Not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray as well. Welcome to everybody in chat. I hope you took a couple days to just exhale after Saturday night and had a great rest of the long weekend. And let's welcome in Remo as we begin the autopsy on 24-25 for the Winnipeg Jets. How are you?
I'm feeling good, Huss. I guess I'll have a bit more free time. I thought we were going to have a Game 7 yesterday, and a bit of an early exit here for the Jets. Disappointing, but you watch that Game 6 under those circumstances, how they played. They did everything they could to try to force it. Were not able to come out on top in overtime, and one of the more emotional games I think that you'll ever watch, from waking up to hearing the news about Mark Scheifele's dad, Brad, and feeling for him and his family and thinking about them all day, and then announcing that he was going to play, and hearing Josh Morrissey today that say he was basically in tears during warm-ups. I mean, this wasn't your regular Game 6, and then during the game playing Dallas, toe-to-toe for pretty much the entire game, and losing Josh Morrissey again to injury in a elimination game like he was injured in Game 7. And, I mean, for him, he didn't play in the Four Nations final either because he was, in bed all day or on the toilet. Pick one. He was sick. So that's got to be real tough for him.
Morrissey's season, despite how great he played for the Winnipeg Jets, when he was on the ice, was literally, the definition of Murphy's Law. What could go wrong went wrong for Josh. He earns a spot on the Canadian team, plays so well through the tournament, and then can't go in the gold medal game, gets pulled in Game 7 of the first round against the St. Louis Blues by the concussion spotter and isn't able to return. And then injures himself in game number 6. And I guess if there is, this isn't a silver lining, but he basically said, and we'll hear from it, it would have been unlikely that he would have been able to play again in the playoffs, albeit not having surgery, which is good news. Just some really, really horrible luck for Josh overall this season. But all of that paled in comparison to what Mark Scheifele was dealing with on Saturday. And Reem, obviously, when this news broke in the morning of the game, it was, the reactions, I think, of everyone were just, your heart sank. And first and foremost, you're concerned about the person. But then also realize that, this is such a massive game, and you wonder, if he would be playing, if that's even something he would consider, and how he'll be able to perform. And, when we heard from Scott Arniel that very quickly he said, my dad would want me to play. I'm playing tonight. I think it was inspiring, I think, for so many people. And I mean, I don't know where you were watching the game or where anyone else out there was, but I think a lot of people gathered with friends and, whether they were at bars or parties or whatever watching the game. I mean, my God, when Scheifele scored that goal, I'm not sure that there'll be a more kind of emotional moment that Jet fans are going to feel for a long time when it comes to the human interest. I mean, obviously the 1.6 seconds is going to be legendary forever and, winning Game 7 in double overtime. But, we have often talked about sports and these teams, these relationships between fans and players and teams is so much more than something, it means more, especially in these Canadian markets. Everyone was feeling for Mark. And I mean, when he scored that goal, that was a little bit of magic. Unfortunately, it really did seem like there was some sort of a movie script going on with Saturday night's game. And there was, and unfortunately it wasn't the Disneyland finish. It was one of heartbreak with Scheifele being in the penalty box when the Dallas Stars scored the overtime goal. But I mean, I'll remember his courageous performance. I'll remember the way this team battled in the most difficult of circumstances. And I'll certainly remember the way Adam Lowry and the entire team was there for Mark afterwards before going into the handshake line. And as I said, this team goes out in an incredibly positive fashion, if that's possible, with a lot to be proud of. And as I say, it'll take a little bit of time to get over the bitterness of losing to Dallas in that fashion. But as I said, I think both from every level this year, on the ice, the organization, in the community, there was so much good coming out of this season, and you just hope that this can continue moving forward because there was a lot to love about the 24-25 Winnipeg Jets season, despite that loss in Game 6 in overtime Saturday night.
Yeah, seeing comments here in the chat. Here's Johnny Bender. After Scheif scored that goal, I literally cried thinking of what he's going through. It took me back to losing my mom, and it overtook my emotions. And I received messages like that from other listeners, and I think Kenny and Randy had an emotional, recap of the game as well. And that was something that you thought of throughout the game, what he was going through, and drawing, personal experiences. Crazy to watch that play out in real time with him in the penalty box and his teammates going over to him. In the post-game, we'll play the clips from Lowry and Scott Arniel. It was almost surreal that this was, on national TV on, the day that everyone found out the news. Like Adam Lowry said that he found out on his way to the rink. It was, I don't know, it was something else. And for them to battle, Game 6, almost force a Game 7 under those circumstances, pretty incredible performance. And it wasn't, we're going to look back on this season, for next year or in a couple years and say this was a magical Jet season. President's Trophy, first in the division. You're going to have those banners hanging at Canada Life Center, but unfortunately not able to get it done in the playoffs. And that was the theme for a lot of teams all the division winners actually did not make it this far. And they've got over that first round hump, but weren't able to get back to the conference final. But I thought it was an awesome season, but it just ended. And I mean, one of the sadder endings to a season you could watch. It was tough. Like everyone's watching that saying, don't end with Scheifele in the box. It was something else.
Sure, I don't know whether we're going to play this clip, but I mean, anyone that saw Lowry and Pionk on the podium after the game, I mean, the emotion that those two were showing. And Adam asked about, the winning goal or whatever. And I mean, borderline breaking down. You could just tell. I mean, like, it's one thing winning for your team and your city and wanting to, win that hockey game and get to Game 7. But they did not want to have that game end with Mark Scheifele in the penalty box. And unfortunately, that was what happened. And that was the difference in another incredibly tight, close game between two really good hockey teams where there had to be one winner and there had to be one loser. Unfortunately for the Jets and all of us, It was Winnipeg on the wrong end of it. I'll say this, Reem. Listen, if you don't win the Stanley Cup, you're having a show like this every single year. You're either eliminated from the playoffs and you start doing the damn draft lottery simulator for 2 months, or you make the playoffs, and if you're one of the 15 teams that make it that don't win the Stanley Cup, you show up and you talk about what happened and what didn't happen, where you go from here. All I can say today, and I think you can feel it in the chat right now, is that the feeling around the Jets after what they were able to do this season, the way they played throughout 82 games, as well as in the playoffs. I mean, certainly there's some things you would like to have had differently or go differently. But I don't think the vibe or the attitude amongst the fan base could be much different than it was the last 2 years. I mean, the flame out against Vegas and the infamous pushback comments from Rick Bowness. And last year, I mean, being absolutely steamrolled by the Colorado Avalanche. It's a very different story and a very different feeling today. And I think the pride that a lot of people have in their hockey team, in these men that represent Winnipeg each and every day when they put those jerseys on, I'm not sure has been higher, to be honest, based on the way they rallied behind Mark on Saturday night, the way they played in the toughest circumstances. And now that the season is over, unfortunately not continuing, looking back at a team that gave us all so many great nights and great highlights and wins over the course of the season.
Yeah, it was a fantastic season. I think they were right there in that series. It went to overtime of game 6, and you look back, there were opportunities for them to beat Dallas. Game 1, when Dallas didn't have Heiskanen, they just weren't at their best in game 1. Maybe it was a bit of an emotional hangover after that game 7 victory. And game 4, they outplayed Dallas the game, but the goaltending not there. And for the Jets, things that were their bread and butter during the regular season, like goaltending and the power play, didn't show up for enough of that series. And game 6, they get on the board first. You think, I don't want to say cruise, but that was part of the recipe that they needed to win that game. Sam Steele comes back with a goal off a rebound and was not able to beat Jake Ottinger. You're going to be talking about that Appleton chance for a long time in terms of what ifs with this team.
That's nightmare fuel, man. Like that one picture of just getting the puck with it being out of the net.
It's the new Trouba pitting the puck against the boards, but kind of the other way around. Just that play from the elimination game that you're going to be wondering, well, what if it went differently? I think if they would have forced the game 7, very good chance to win, and we could be looking forward to a Jets-Oilers conference final. Wasn't meant to be, unfortunately, but even though they went out, earlier than you would have liked, I agree. Not only one team is going to win, and I think you can't say otherwise. It was a great season, but it ended a bit too short.
Yeah, I mean, listen, no one wanted it to end on the weekend. No one wanted it to end this round, but as they say, we move on to breaking down everything that did happen to end the season, and very quickly we'll be firing up. It's already happening in the chat. We'll let things settle down a little bit before we dive into a full-fledged what's next. But let's just say the Sign Lars movement is already well underway here on WST in the chat and amongst Jet fans. Listen, next year we're going to be going into the playoffs, assuming that they make it, talking about this 10-game road losing streak. I don't really have a theory, Remis, on how a team that was so good on the road just wasn't able to get a result at any point in the playoffs. I mean, listen, they weren't good on the road at all in the St. Louis series. And listen, that made for thrilling, winning home games, and obviously the most legendary game probably in Jet history in Game 7 against the Blues. But when I look back at this series, to be honest, listen, there is a bit of regret. Game 4 was a game the Jets could have absolutely had. I thought that first goal by Granlund, that I'm sure Hellebuck would like to have back. was a real dagger in that, all the good things the Jets were doing were just trying to come and make up for that. And then, of course, and listen, Dallas is a great team. I mean, you give them, you make one mistake, you give them one opportunity with a little bit too much room, they can make you pay, and they did that. And Jake Ottinger was brilliant. But what I think my biggest regret about the Dallas series is not about the road games. It's actually game one. And I get it. I mean, the team had just played a crazy 7-game series that ended in the most spectacular way possible with a double overtime win. But when I think about how good the team was in game 2 and in game 5 with the 4-0 shutouts and how they played for the most part in that first game, were it not for that Rantanen hat trick, bang, 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 2 goals on the fourth line, 1 on the power play, a game in a series that might have been very, very different if they'd been able to win a very close game that could have gone either way in game number 1. But at the end, if you lose at home, and Scott O'Neill said we gave away home ice, they were never able to get it back. And, that's another part of the story of that series that I think is going to be tough to take, because the Jets at home the rest of the way didn't give up a goal after game number 1. And I think you look at games 3, 4, and 6 and look at the way those games were played and would have thought the Jets would have for sure had at least 1, if not 2. But again, thanks to Jake Ottinger, some timely scoring, whatnot, they weren't able to get it done. So unfortunately, that's a topic that certainly we'll be talking about again as we go into next year's postseason. But a long way to go to get to there beforehand.
Yeah, I think when you look back on the series, the games that they could have had, game 1, you lose at home 3-2, and game 4, where Jake Ottinger was the better goalie than Connor Hellebuck, and that was the difference. Jake Ottinger, he was excellent. I don't know if there's a series MVP handed out here for the division final, whatever the second round is called, but you can give it to Jake Ottinger. I think for Dallas, maybe Mikko Rantanen. Those guys stepped up for them, and the Jets couldn't seem to solve Ottinger. He was making save after save. Even in the game that they won at home, game 5, he was making saves like not facing backwards, and it was hitting him. So that I agree with you that game, and there did seem like a bit of a letdown for the Jets after that game 7, which it's hard not there to be, but you still got to win the games. And without Heiskanen, they had to take advantage, and they didn't. And throughout the series, goaltending and power play, the Jets area, the Jets in those areas were not as good as Dallas. And you talk about the Jets secondary scoring not being there, Perfetti, Nemestikov, Iafallo, not getting on the board. Well, the Jets did a great job shutting down Dallas secondary scoring. Where was Seguin? Where was Wyatt Johnson? It was the top players. And I think, again, right there, game 6 overtime could have forced it to game 7, but I'll agree with you. Game 1 was their opportunity to pounce, and they didn't take advantage, and Dallas ended up getting stronger as it went on. And just again, it was an overtime game 6 loss in a 1-1 game. Unfortunately for the Jets, they found their road game. Well, they found it in game 4 and most of game 3 until it fell off the rail.
Game 3. I mean, the crazy call too. I mean, that's a part of the story. I mean, like, I know we spent enough time after game 3. You got to move on, but I mean, for sure, that's a big story. I mean, listen, the power play, and it was probably appropriate that the Dallas Stars, if they were going to win this series, did it with somebody in the box, because that's where they did so much of their damage. I mean, the Stars power play ended up being 7 of 19 in the series. The Jets 3 of 21. And they never got a chance to go on the power play in game number 6. I mean, ironically, Mark Scheifele's penalty was the only penalty called in the game. The ref did have his arm up for a high stick on Gabe Vilardi, but before the Dallas Stars were able to touch the puck, Mark Scheifele scored that memorable goal to get the Jets up. And this is crazy. Like, I thought the team did such a good job against most of the Stars. I mean, Matt Duchene, 0 goals. Mason Marchment, had 1. Dadonov Seguin didn't do much at all in that series. even Rupi Hintz was relatively quiet. I mean, obviously Rantanen had his hat trick in game number 1. Granlund had his other one. And again, we don't spend too much time talking plus minus for a reason, but this will tell you the story you need to know and just how important the power play was for Dallas. Right now in the playoffs, Remis, the Dallas Stars have only 3 players that are a plus one. But like Wyatt Johnson is minus 13 in the playoffs through 13 games. Matt Duchene minus 9. Lyubushkin minus 7. Jamie Benn minus 6. Like, this was a very, very close series. And as I say, there is some regret, missed opportunity all in there. And that will always be the case when your team bows out. But, I think that what we'll remember about Game 6 and about this series will be how this team came together, with Mark Scheifele out there, and one of the most courageous performances you will ever see in any sport. And went down fighting together. Listen, we're going to hear a little bit of post-game and then get into more of the audio from today in just a moment. Let me give a big shout-out to our friends at Rolly's Transfer. Folks, if you got a move coming up, lean on the experts at Rolly's, family owned and operated for over 60 years in Winnipeg, and the most trusted name in the moving game. Maybe you'll get the new WST truck that is all over the streets of the province right now. Go to Rollies.com and click on Request an Estimate in the top right. Put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to go. And our friends at Rollies will turn it around quickly, get you a great quote, and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they've been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies. Find out more. Request an estimate today online at Rollies.com. I know it wasn't a lot of big smiles after the game. It was a sad day for Jet fans, but we now move into a great time of the year. Baseball season is back with the Fish. The Bombers are at training camp. The CFL exhibition season will be at Princess Auto Stadium soon. And the smiles will be back. And hey, if you want to take care of your smile, let the experts, Dr. Terry and his great staff at St. Vital Dental Center, take care of you at their beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's Road, with convenient free parking right in the back of the building on the property. St. Vital Dental Center has been taking care of generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans. If you and your family have dental needs, give them a holler and get down there, serving clients from 6 months to 99 plus, with everything from checkups and cleanings all the way to things like dental implants. For more information on all of their services and to book an appointment, head on over to stvitaldental.ca. Hey, the weather was pretty brutal for May long weekend, despite how nice it had been heading into the weekend. But let's face it, we're now into spring, dare I say, nearly summertime. And our friends at Canadian Club have a great deal right now at Manitoba Liquor Marts for the rest of May. The Canadian Club Club Pack of their ready-to-drink coolers, including the Canadian Club and Ginger Ale, the Citrus Smash, and the Half and Half. Had a couple of these on the weekend. They are absolutely delicious. They'll be amazing on the golf course, and I think they'll be very popular at Bomber games this year, as well as, of course, Canadian Club is the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Head on down, though, today to your Manitoba Liquor Marts and keep your eye open for the special savings on the Canadian Club Club Pack right now at your local Manitoba Liquor Marts. And, hey, listen, now with hockey season over, we're thinking golfing. We're thinking fishing. We're thinking camping. Manitoba Battery, Donnie and the gang are ready for you to get ready for summer for all your battery needs. Stop wasting money and time at the big box stores when you've got a local option like Manitoba Battery with 2 locations, Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive, to take care of your battery needs with the best in quality and selection and the best prices. Save up to $50 a battery for those batteries you need for your boats and campers as you get into the season. Pop by and see them in store, or if you're busy, just go online at manitobabattery.com and they'll deliver those batteries to you for free anywhere inside the city of Winnipeg with any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. For all your battery needs, shop local, save money, Manitoba Battery and manitobabattery.com. All right, let's get into, let's wrap up Saturday night before we get into today. And listen, I'm not sure there was a heavier comment post-game than Adam Lowry speaking from the podium on just the emotional day of Game 6 and the unfortunate, premature, in his mind, end to the season. Here's what the captain had to say afterwards.
Heartbreaking. We felt like we had a great regular season. We felt like we had a team that could go on a run, and for it to end the way it did, and everything else that was surrounding the day, it's just a lot of emotion. I think it's tough to put into words what Mark went through today, and it's a huge goal for us. Plays a heck of a game, and it ends the way it does. So just emotional, heavy. Just really proud of the group we had, the commitment, the no quit. Just a lot of things that a good team needs, and we ran into a great Dallas team, and we couldn't find that extra one tonight, and that was the difference.
All right, there's the captain, Adam Lowry, after the game, and you could just feel the emotion in every word that he was saying, in addition to the disappointment of their season being over. Neil Pionk was an absolute playoff beast, stepping up in so many ways, especially in back-to-back Game 7s where Josh Morrissey was knocked out and not able to play the majority of the game. But I think everyone will remember one of the lasting images of this season ending was a devastated Mark Scheifele in the penalty box when that goal was scored, and Adam Lowry going to console him and get him, and certainly none of the team was going to the locker room. Neil Pionk talked about their captain going into the penalty box after that final goal for Mark.
We're there for him. We're a family. Chef's a big part of our family, and we're here for him no matter what. So that's we weren't leaving the ice without him, kind of thing. Did everything we could to get him and his family to win, just didn't pull through.
Yeah, I think the word family, but just to let him know we're there for him. It's just an awful day for him that you want to give him the strength. You want to get that kill so bad. We just couldn't do it.
Listening to that again, like 3 days later, Reem, I mean, it's just as hard today as it was then. And I mean it, and I hate to say it because, I mean, listen, we obsess about sports and we obsess about our teams, and that's what we do here, and that's what fans do. But that was so much bigger than a hockey game. And, that emotion, Adam Lowry saying, we just wanted so bad to get the kill. I mean, that was the line that just, it hits you right there.
Yeah, this was, you're already pretty emotional about, everything, like losing, your season being over, your teammate and best friend losing, losing a parent. It's a crazy situation. Then having Scheifele in the box and just wanting to try to make sure he gets a chance to get out of there, and you can't. And they all go to him. Like, it was an unbelievable scene watching that. And I see people in the chat getting emotional rewatching. I don't think we'll ever forget that game.
No. And as I said, they did everything they could. I mean, they left it all out there. But unfortunately for Mark and for everyone, weren't able to get that kill. And just to hear Adam speak like that, you know how much that hurt. Scott Arniel spoke after the game, also in a similarly emotional state, and just spoke of the courage of Mark Scheifele to play for his team and his teammates, and the Game 6 performance that he put forth.
I mean, for him to go through what he had to go through and then, perform the way he did, so proud of him. I mean, his dad would be so proud of him. He wanted to win so bad. The circumstances, so tough to be in a situation like that. I couldn't imagine it, but just the pro that he is, the leader that he is, the year that he had with us. Like I said, his dad and his family would be very proud of him.
All right, there's the coach, and that I think goes without saying. Not just his family, but I think everyone that has followed or has a stake in the Winnipeg Jets. Whether you're a fan, whether you're working in the arena, whether you're in the organization. I mean, that was it did bring a lot of people together. There's no doubt, but under horrible circumstances. Here's one from Arniel. He'll speak more extensively tomorrow on the season overall, but just talked about the growth of their team in his first year behind the bench.
Yeah, I think, obviously the 82 games were outstanding. The work that we put in to get ourselves where we did at the end of the season, where we stood in the league, guys have to be awfully proud of that accomplishment. How we battled through the playoffs. Lots of things happened. We had to go through a lot of bodies. Again, losing Josh tonight was a big blow. Just a lot of circumstances that happened that our leadership within our group, kept driving everybody, pushing everybody, and it's growth. It hurts a lot. But we lost to a great team. We lost to a team that was in our rear view mirror all year long. I'm going to give Dallas, Jimmy Nell, and Pete an awful lot of credit for that team. They like I mentioned, they have a heck of a hockey team, and wish them all the best.
All right, so there's Scott Arniel, and one other thing, Reem, that kind of stood out to me. I mean, wherever you were watching the game, I mean, the sights afterwards of the team consoling Mark, and before the handshake line, I think will stay in people's memories for a long time. The other thing was the handshake line itself. And listen, I still don't have a lot of time for Jamie Benn after he sucker punched Scheifele and did what he did in game number 5. And I thought it was a joke that he only got a fine, and the Jets were shorthanded after that. I mean, but whatever. You saw every player led by Ben spending a little bit of extra time, telling Mark, how, just impressed they were with the guts that he showed in playing. But in the mic'd up, Peter DeBoer was mic'd up. And what was really interesting was how many of the Jets, said, go win that cup. I mean, there's obviously a ton of respect from these teams after, playing the way they have for a number of years, but also finally going head to head in a series that had such a thin margin between winning and losing. And if you haven't seen that clip, I think the NHL's put it out, but some high praise for a lot of guys in Winnipeg and a very interesting one between the two coaches at the end of the handshake line. Let's hear from Josh Morrissey. Morrissey spoke today. We mentioned the horrible luck that he had with the Four Nations and the 2 Game 7s, but all of that pales into comparison to what his close friend and teammate Mark Scheifele was going through. Here's Josh on just the emotional day that was Game 6 from his perspective.
Just a devastating day. I mean, Scheif's my best friend, and we've been close for a long time. Obviously, as a result, become very close to the family, and specifically Brad, and spend a lot of time with him and Mark, and whether it's dad's trips or things like that, golf in the summer, and it was just devastating. I mean, we knew behind the scenes, obviously, a little bit what was going on, but nobody really saw that coming, and I think it was just, your heart goes out for your friend. Unfortunately, I've been through it with with my dad, and every situation's a little bit different. But yeah, just a flood of emotion. Just like I said, heart going out to them and Scheif, and what he was able to do mentally to play that game and play as well as he did, and obviously score that goal. You know, I'm sure it's inspiring to me as, you know, his best friend, but I think so many people out there probably, I know for sure, would be inspired by that and that courage he showed, and that was for his dad. So yeah, it was just watching him out there. I mean, even in the warm-up, we do some little things together, and felt like I was fighting back tears just because, yeah, it makes you think about Brad and obviously just the whole thing. So yeah, it was tough, but beyond inspiring by Mark, and I know everyone knows how proud Brad would have been watching him play. And even before the game, my mom texted me, and I think she shared it with Mary Lou, but Mark and I talked about it, that, you know, our dads and Casey's dad would be up there, you know, having their drink of choice and watching the game. So you know, it was a lot of emotion for sure, and like I said, just heart goes out to the family, and you know, miss Brad. What an incredible person.
All right, there's some really nice words from Josh Morrissey on just how heavy that was, and you know, it is, you know, for such young men. You know, Mark and Josh and Kyle Connor now have all lost their fathers, and you know, I have a feeling, I mean, with Mark being as close as he is to Josh and Kyle, you know, probably helping them go through this before, I'm sure was, you know, was welcome having those players there, and just having, you know, his entire team there, because it is an extended family, as you know, we've heard from Neil Pionk, and we've heard throughout this season, with what they have built. Here's a little bit more from Morrissey, just on you know, advice and the, you know, the friendly nature of just trying to be able to help Mark through probably the toughest day of his life.
You know, going through it, you know, you just having somebody there. Sometimes you don't necessarily hear the words the person's saying when you're in that state, but just having people around you be there and show that support. And you know, when we talked, I woke up in the morning, my phone was ringing, and went over to his room, and just you know, throughout the day, just trying to be there for him, whatever he needs. That's all you can really do and say. And I think in my experience, you know, he was there for me, and certainly do anything I can to be there for him. But it's until you lose your dad, you know, especially when you're close with him like Mark was and like I was, you know, you don't really know how to handle it. And I think, just like I said, all you can do, and all I've said to Scheif is just, you know how proud he is of you, and how proud we all are of you, and we're with you and standing beside you. And like I said, whether, you know, in each moment he's able to hear that, or he's going through what he's going through, just being there for him is all you can do, and that means the most.
All right, so there's Josh Morrissey, you know, just speaking on being there for his closest friend and teammate, Mark Scheifele. You know, with this being kind of the final media avail of the year for the Winnipeg Jets, Morrissey was also asked just how he's feeling, what was the story with the injury. Here's what he had to say about, you know, getting hurt, and obviously the reaction, which you saw was pretty visceral on the ice as he went to the bench in the dressing room.
Yeah, basically knew kind of right away that wouldn't be able to, you know, I was injured, and obviously felt something. So just frustration. I mean, looking back a couple years ago, you know, I've knock on wood, but I've been fairly healthy through the regular season, and you know, have a kind of a freak knee injury against Vegas a couple of years ago, and then obviously this year, just, you know, getting sick in the Four Nations, getting hurt in Game 7, and then, you know, having a freak injury in Game 6. I mean, it was just frustrating this year that, you know, those situations happen, but you can feel sorry for yourself or unlucky or whatever you want, but it is what it is, and just got to go back to work and continue to get better and prepare for next season and be ready for those moments when I get a chance to be in them again.
All right, so there's Josh Morrissey, and here's just one more from JMO, just on his recovery and how long he'll be out of action.
No surgery, just kind of best case, but I would have probably been out for the rest of the playoffs, most likely.
Can you share what caused you to have to leave early Game 7 as well, Josh?
Yeah, just a concussion protocol.
Yeah.
This was a knee ligament stretch? Or?
Yeah, it was the left knee, yeah.
All right, so there's a little clarity on Josh Morrissey getting yanked for concussion protocol in Game 7 against St. Louis, and then having the team without Scheifele and without Morrissey off to the most incredible comeback we've ever seen. But again, just some horrible luck in the biggest moments of the entire season for Josh Morrissey. Mike McIntyre is going to join us in a couple minutes. Remo, I just want to play two quick clips because, listen, as we talk about the game, I mean, one thing that, will come up with was the glorious chance for Mason Appleton, and I was very interested to hear from him today as to just how he was processing, not being able to convert that, and obviously how things ended. This is Appleton on the missed chance in Game 6.
Puck didn't really settle how I wanted it to, so I didn't really hit it how I needed or wanted to. Yeah, you look back at it and you score the goal, you're winning the game. So yeah, obviously it's kind of haunting in a sense, frustrating, but at the same time, like, you see goalies make incredible saves, and I didn't get what I wanted on it, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's a game of inches, and it is what it is, I guess.
All right, now here's just one more from Appleton on the feeling in the room after that devastating loss in overtime.
Tons of pride playing here, being here. You lose in 5 last year. You lose 4 straight. You have a real sour taste, and I thought, we chased it all summer and then got back and put a great product on the ice for 82 games and won a lot of hockey games and, won the President's Trophy, and then, found ourselves in an absolute dogfight against St. Louis and came out alive. And I don't really feel that this Dallas series was a 4-2 series. We were a what if away from, Game 7 coming back in our building where we've been dominant. So, yeah, definitely a lot of pride and a lot to be proud of.
All right, so there's Mason Appleton from the Winnipeg Jets. We've got a lot more, and we'll kind of get into this feedback from the players on the Winnipeg Jets over the course of this entire kind of season wrap-up week here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. With the hockey season over, all eyes are on the ballpark, and of course Princess Auto Stadium as Bomber training camp continues, and we're not too far away from getting back to the stadium to get behind the Bombers as they look to get back to a 6th straight Grey Cup and do it here at Princess Auto Stadium in November. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsors of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in their home and Winnipeg Sports Talk. And as we get into spring and summer, the place where you will find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new waiting for you at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, Brandon. You can always shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. Well, we can now start thinking about getting out on the water. Fishing season is here, and I cannot wait to get out to Aikens Lake. Always the highlight of maybe the entire year. If you're thinking about maybe staying in the province this year, we've got a world-class fly-in fishing lodge where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg. As incredible as the world-class fishing is, the world-class hospitality might be even better from the Aikens team and the Turenne family. Go to aikenslake.com for more information on options and availability for the 2025 fishing season. Make sure to check them out on all their social platforms at Aikens Lake. And hey, we got grad month coming up right now. If you haven't already taken care of that new suit for the grad in your family, get on down to F Apparel. They just celebrated their 15th anniversary. A great deal right now for grads where with every suit purchased for a 2025 grad, you'll get a free shirt and tie. And of course, they're ready for wedding season as well as the go-to spot for wedding attire in Winnipeg. And if you're in a wedding party, make sure to talk to the fellas at F about a great discount for your suits that you can wear on the big day and beyond. Custom suits, chinos, golf plants, shirts, and of course, the best selection of menswear accessories. It's all at F Apparel, 190 Smith Street downtown. And you can check them out online at that's EPHapparel.com. All right, Mike McIntyre is down at the rink and is going to join us to give us a little, first of all, we get his thoughts on the end of the season, but also what he was hearing from a number of the players today. This segment is brought to you by Prairie Toyota dealers who want to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. Quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road or hauling a heavy load, and it's backed by the peace of mind knowing it's a Toyota. So take the road less traveled in comfort, room for teammates, friends, and gear. And can we talk about how good this truck looks? Anywhere it goes, the Toyota Tundra is turning heads. From $154 weekly for 60 months at 5.19% APR with $66.99 down. Hybrid is available. Visit shoptoyota.ca. Let's get Mike McIntyre in here. And Mike, obviously, I had hoped we'd be talking about a wild Game 7 last night and maybe a series against the Oilers, but it wasn't to be. But, before we kind of do the autopsy on the season overall, I mean, just thoughts on one of the most emotional days, certainly for Winnipeg sports fans. And I can't imagine being inside that room with the passing of Mark Scheifele's father and Mark playing for his dad, for his teammates, for Winnipeg in the most unfortunate circumstances I can remember.
Well, these playoffs, Huss, really brought us two emotional whoppers. Game 7, of course, and the jubilation, the emotional high that the Jets and their fans were on, and then the roller coaster of Saturday. Of course, something much larger than sport, real life, the loss of a parent, the loss of a loved one. That certainly hung heavy over the Winnipeg Jets. And I wasn't surprised Mark Scheifele played, just kind of knowing how he's wired. And I figured that his dad would want him to play, which is what the messaging was. And then for him to score the opening goal, and you're like, man, this is the stuff of Hollywood. Like this, the Jets are on their way to another Hollywood kind of script in these playoffs. With Mark Scheifele in those circumstances, maybe scoring the winning goal to send it back to Game 7, or then once it got tied, you're like, well, maybe he scores the overtime winner, and what a story that would be. And then in just the ultimate plot twist, one Huss that shows that sports, kind of like life, is not always fair. And if life was fair, if sports were fair, there's no way Mark Scheifele, of all people, is sitting in the penalty box watching the game-winning goal get scored. So, from a potential kind of absolute courageous, heroic kind of development to just heartbreak. And yet, to me, what I'll remember from that game, and I suspect a lot of fans feel this way too, is not the final score and what it did to their season. It's the humanity, quite frankly, that we saw on display. Adam Lowry rushing to the penalty box to console Mark Scheifele. I mean, does that not speak volumes about who Adam Lowry is as a human being and as a leader? The sight of all the Jets players kind of surrounding Scheifele, knowing just how hard that was going to be for him. And to their credit, the Dallas Stars and, the emotion in that handshake line. And now there's some audio to go with it, because I know Pete DeBoer was mic'd up, and some of what was said, the scenes after the game with Scheifele in the hallway, and so there was so much to process there. That was an emotional ringer for sure. I think one thing though that you can really take away from all that is, despite the final result obviously not being what Jets fans wanted, the Jets went out as winners. I mean, in a bigger sense of the word. And I wrote a piece on it after the game, that anybody who wants to kind of brand these guys chokers or frauds or losers or whatever, were completely missing the boat. This Jets team was not that. They showed us time and time again, certainly in the regular season. And I just think some of these moments and memories that they provided in the playoffs go so far beyond a final score or a box score. Those are things that people are going to remember forever about this group, and put me in the category of people that truly feel that there's an intangible that you can't measure when it comes to things like team unity and bonding and togetherness, family, if you want to call it that. And I do believe that in a lot of ways, these Jets are going to be stronger. The old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Well, these Jets went through a lot, and I personally can't see how they wouldn't be stronger individually, whether it's Scheifele or Josh Morrissey and just the absolute nightmare he went through in terms of injuries and stuff, and collectively as a team. We kind of saw how they rallied around each other, and I think that certainly speaks volumes about who they are, and also sets a pretty bright future for this group.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, like I said earlier today, I mean, unless you win the Stanley Cup, there's a show like this happening in every single market after the final loss of the season, where you look back at everything that that happened this year, and I don't think you'll have a fan base that can justifiably be as proud of their team and what they accomplished this year, despite falling short of their goal and what they showed along the way. And I think, for the organization from top to bottom, it was a very necessary but incredibly positive year. And, we, Mike, to your point, I mean, we hear a lot about, oh, this team's really close, the room's really good. I mean, everybody says it. We saw for 7 months from day one of training camp, owning the failure of the playoffs last season and committing to be better. A team that, they talked the talk, but they really did walk the walk, and they did it together throughout it. And you'll be hard pressed in any sport for a long time to see that element of a team that was on display in Game 6 in a losing cause than the Winnipeg Jets on the weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, the idea of these embracing the calluses of the past, which was kind of a theme, like this is more than this is a big wound, and it's fresh for sure. But again, considering that so much of this core is locked up, that the Jets will be bringing back the vast majority of players who were part of the best regular season team in the league. And now they already had a lot of motivation, and we kind of saw that in how they channeled it during the season. I'd say the motivation now, certainly when it comes to getting the job done in the playoffs, that's going to burn, hotter than it ever has. And look, the playoffs are the ultimate crapshoot, right? The Jets, there's a lot of company to their misery here. Every other division winner got knocked out in the second round. The top 4 teams in the league got knocked out in the second round. And I believe, as we now talk about the Final Four, correct me if I'm wrong, Huss, but I believe 7 of the top 8 teams in the regular season are now out. Dallas is the top seed remaining. I think they were 5. And then there's like 9, 10, and 11, I think, are the other 3 seeds. If you're looking at overall ranking. So there's a lot of teams that, as you said, all but one that are going to fall short of the goal. I just think there's ways to go out, and you look at, for example, the way the Toronto Maple Leafs and their season ended. I had some people sort of tweeting at me like, oh, this just shows Jets and the Leafs, kind of same team. They can't get the job done when it counts. And to that, I'd say, like, did you watch the games? They weren't even on the same planet when it came to what their exits from the playoffs look like. And, while the folks in Toronto probably have the pitchforks at the ready, I'm sure there'll be some in Winnipeg who feel like that. But I think at the end of the day, there's so much for fans to be proud of what this group accomplished. You can't fake your way through an 82-game season. This was a damn good hockey team, and maybe a little luck here or there, some bounces, whatever. We could be talking about a different ending to this story, but the ending is what it is. It's a remarkable story in and of itself. It really is. As I said, from what happened in Game 7 in Round 1 and now Game 6 in Round 2, just an absolute emotional roller coaster for this group. One, though, that I think is going to strengthen their resolve ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, when we're just talking about the Dallas series overall, like, in the open, I said, well, listen, for Jet fans, I mean, we're still going to have to be talking about this road losing streak going into next year's playoffs. That's something that didn't evaporate. But man, I thought the two series were so different, even if we're just talking about the road games.
Yep.
Like the implosions in St. Louis were very reminiscent of what happened in Colorado last year. That's, I think, why people were so nervous going into Game 5 and again in Game 7. Would they be able to rise above that? And they did. And they did it in the most incredible fashion. A memory that as we get further away from these playoffs, I think we'll always remember. It'll be this generation's, Dave Ellett goal. And even better because they actually won a series for it. And listen, St. Louis was no joke. I mean, when you think about the challenge that they had to do to get through St. Louis, the most physical, heaviest team in a 7-game war, that's something that I think they'll look back and that will make them better moving forward, that sort of experience. But this series against Dallas, I mean, we can talk about the inability to win on the road. And obviously Game 6 was an overtime game. Game 4 was right there. And, obviously I think Jake Ottinger was sort of the difference in that game. Game 3, the infamous goal that ended up being the winner that sort of changed things. But when I look back at this, especially considering how well the Jets played in Game 2 and Game 5 on home ice.
Yeah, Game 1.
Game 1 was the one that got away. And now knowing what we know now, I look back at Scott Arniel's comments afterwards, after that game, so frustrated that they'd given up home ice, knowing that, for the first time ever, Mike, the whiteout, the Winnipeg crowd, was not a burden for the team.
Yeah.
But something that really did lift them up. And I think it speaks to the connection between this team and the fan base, which has been better than anything we've seen in a long, long time here. But, man, it is Game 1. If you're looking back to something that, if a couple things could have just gone a different way, maybe we'd be talking differently. Because, honestly, I mean, the margin between winning and losing this series was razor thin. And that's what happens when you have two 50-plus win teams going at it in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, you're right. And we look back to Game 1, and the Jets certainly didn't use it as an excuse. But I can't help but think, Huss, that there was still some remnants of an emotional come down after, because, I mean, they started.
Oh, there was for sure.
Yeah, less than 72 hours later. And, Scott Arniel said it didn't feel like a playoff game. Well, it certainly didn't feel like any of the St. Louis playoff games, that Game 1. And it's like the Jets, they needed a bit of a kick in the pants to get the engine going again, which they did in Game 2, and continued in a major way on home ice. But you're right. I mean, they won that entire first series by completely laying an egg on the road. They played a lot better against Dallas on the road, ultimately the same result, 3 losses. That's still a winnable series, though, to your point, Huss, if they just hold serve at home. And you're right. I mean, nobody's going to say you lose a series in game 1, but you can make a valid argument that result certainly changed the tone of the series. And, you know, the Jets were right there really in all 3 road games in Dallas. I know the game 3 ultimately got away from them. That was a tie game going into the 3rd period. Game 4 was tied late into the 2nd, and then obviously the other night. So the Jets certainly found their game in a way they didn't have it against the Blues. But yeah, that'll be one that's, you know, there's a lot of things to think about the what ifs, and certainly what if they had come out with a better game 1 in round 2? Might they still be playing? And the answer is probably yes.
Yeah, and I mean, I know you mentioned this before, and I mean, there's always talk. I mean, listen, by the way, Coachy with the super chat, just wanted to say, great job, WST, not just today, but all season. Glad you're here. Coachy, really appreciate that, and appreciate everyone that's has been with us through the ride. And the good thing is, no days off for WST. We're going to crank it right through the off season with all the latest stories on the Winnipeg Jets, and we'll certainly have plenty of time to get to some big off-season questions. But Mike, you know, and listen, I'll be honest, I really felt for Leaf fans in Game 7. I mean, I know sometimes they come in and they're obnoxious in your building when they come in with the numbers that they do, but my God, you know, your comparison of the way those 2 teams went out. You know, the Winnipeg Jets, you know, in the most difficult of circumstances, laying it on the line. Certainly heard that enough.
If I hear that one more time, Huss,
something should maybe ban that term. I think I'm subconsciously saying it right now because of how many times we had to hear it. But you know, the way they went out compared to what happened in Toronto in game number 7 and the aftermath. I mean, like, I'm proud to say, I don't think there's never been a Jet fan that's thrown a jersey on the ice. And I don't think that is the makeup of this city or this community. But I mean, jerseys, beers, Mitch Marner getting booed every time he touched the puck at the end. I mean, you want to talk about a stark contrast. That was just downright ugly. And you know, to see that happen the day after everything happened with Winnipeg, I mean, you know, it does, I think, really point out to the pride that this team was able to generate in their fan base and do something that was really important, I think, for the organization as well, to truly, like, reconnect with the fans. And I give the players in that locker room from day one, the coaching staff as well, everyone, I mean, so much credit, because it can go in a very different way, as we saw in the GTA, and that ugly performance by the team, and then even an uglier scene in the building as their season ended.
Yeah, and that's why, to me, this season is a win on many levels for the Winnipeg Jets. Obviously, it doesn't end with a parade down Portage and Main, but you know, some big strides were taken on the ice, and certainly some big strides were taken off the ice. In terms of enhancing the season ticket base. I think the team finished at, you know, the playoffs, if you add in the 7 home games plus the final 8 games of the regular season. So they sold out the final 15 games and counting of the year. And yeah, that connection with the community, we saw it and heard it and felt it in the building, outside the building. You know, the whiteout parties were truly memorable. Mother Nature largely cooperated, except for maybe the last one. But even then, you know, to have 5,000 fans out in the pouring rain like that, I mean, that just kind of speaks to this community. And, you know, it's interesting doing some of these exit interviews today. And I didn't see, Huss, if you played any of Hayden Fleury's clips, but so he's a pending UFA. And he spoke of how this is the first time he's ever played in a Canadian market this year, and just how special it was. And like, this wasn't a guy just feeding a line to the media, trying to, score some points or whatever with the public. He truly meant every word. He said he really, really, really hopes that he comes back here because he said he loves playing hockey in a market where it matters. And he said he's got 2 kids. He said that for his oldest boy, he loved being able to show him how important a hockey team is to its community and what it means to the community. And he spoke about the whiteout and some of the scenes inside and outside the rink. So, I thought, like, again, Winnipeg gets a bad rap. Some of it is justified in terms of there are players who really don't want to come here. I just have to think everything that happened on and off the ice with the Jets and in these playoffs, some guys, you'll probably never change their minds. It is what it is. But I got to think that there are people, and whether they're players or fans in other markets, that might be looking at Winnipeg just a little bit differently these days. And that's because of the team itself, the way it played, the way it rallied around each other, the fan base, ownership, all that. This was a very special year in Winnipeg that is going to be tough to replicate for sure. But certainly everybody involved, I know, hopes becomes kind of the blueprint, the gold standard, if you will, for how future seasons should look around here.
Yeah, I mean, hey, they raised the bar in so many different ways this season, on the ice, off the ice, and it's important that they continue moving forward. But considering some of the conversations we were having at the beginning of last season to where we are right now, I think everyone, I think is pretty satisfied that this team is going in the right direction, albeit still falling short of the ultimate goal. But the ride to get to this point was a pretty amazing one, and obviously, just what happened on Saturday, in a lot of ways, put everything into perspective. And, it is the human story of this team and of these players that it's hard to get past when we're talking about everything that happened. I mean, take us into, we all know what it was like after the game. As heartbreaking a scene, we played Adam Lowry nearly breaking up, just talking about how badly they wanted to kill that penalty and get Mark out of the box, which obviously didn't happen, is something that I think is going to stay with all of us for a long, long time. What was the atmosphere like today when speaking with the players that have now had a couple days to sort of at least ponder or get away from the freshness of the loss in the end of the season?
Yeah, I think the pain is still very real, but it's not so much the pain of just the loss itself, but again, everything kind of surrounding Mark Scheifele. The team's going to be flying out, or a good chunk of the team will be flying out to Ontario for Brad Scheifele's funeral on Thursday. So there's, the season's over. Normally this is when players kind of go their separate ways. But there's one kind of final team event, albeit a very sad event. But they'll be there for Mark Scheifele and each other. And again, I think that just speaks volumes about this group. There was a lot of reflection on, what could have and maybe should have been. Again, I just got the sense that there's a real desire here to, the off season's going to be a little longer than the players wanted. Obviously, they wanted to be playing hockey for another 3 or 4 weeks here. But it's probably going to really feel long because these guys, in a way, they want to get right back at it because they had such a good thing going. Like, there's some teams and some seasons where you just need the break, right? Everybody, you can't get to that finish line fast enough. And I think for the Jets, they loved their time together. They loved what they were able to accomplish. Obviously, they ultimately fell short of the goal. But I think that this is just going to drive them even more as they go forward through the summer. And if you're looking for positives, for sure, that it's that this core. Now, obviously, there's some key questions, Nikolai Ehlers being at the very top of the list, and he's not here. For folks wondering, what does Nikolai Ehlers have to say today? Well, he's not here. He quickly rushed off to go play for Denmark at the Worlds. And Nino Niederreiter is also not here. He's gone to play for Switzerland. And, of course, Mark Scheifele's not doing interviews. He's back in Ontario with his family. By the way, the Dallas Stars owner did not fly Mark Scheifele back on his private jet as some were reporting or speculating. That was just a rumor. Mark Scheifele flew home with the Jets on their charter from Dallas, then went on to Ontario to be with his family. But yeah, I mean, I just got the sense this is it's a hardworking group. It's a very likable group. I think that's part of why that connection with the community was so strong this year. There's a lot of great personalities in that room. Luke Shen maybe summed it up better than anybody. This is a guy who's been on a lot of teams. And, he spoke of the family atmosphere that was readily apparent as soon as he joined the Winnipeg Jets, and something that he truly appreciates. So, I think disappointment for sure, but this exit day today, and it'll continue tomorrow. We'll hear from kind of a second batch of players and head coach Scott Arniel and general manager Kevin Cheveldayoff. But this didn't have the same, nearly the same feel as some of the other ones, where you had that same sense of just regret, where the Jets in past years feel like they ultimately failed themselves. You just don't have that same sentiment here, where there's so much regret over what could have been. I think these guys, they're emotionally taxed. Like they've been through the ringer here. And again, to go back to that stupid commercial, they did lay it all on the line.
I feel lucky that I actually went to all the games with the exception of Game 6.
Me too.
So I didn't have to hear that commercial, but I certainly saw it enough, in social media, people referencing it over and over to kind of figure out.
Yeah.
Oh, and then of course we got a full dose of it in game number 6. Mike, I mean, listen, most of our offseason conversations we'll save, but you mentioned Nikolai Ehlers along with Nino going out to the World Championships. I think it's pretty clear that of the significant moves that need to be made, players that need to be re-signed, probably the most pivotal for where this team goes from here is whether Nick Ehlers re-signs with the Winnipeg Jets. Do you have any feeling on that right now? Funny enough, it's not really something we spent a lot of time talking about this year because we knew that this was going to be something that I think was more talked about at the end of the season. Where are you at on this? And, granted things can change. He's over there. Like, we don't know a lot about this. What are the chances do you think Nick Ehlers is a Jet next season?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, trying to maybe get some clues today from talking to players, there's some quotes that depending on what you read into them, you're like, okay, is that a hint one way or the other? Like Connor Hellebuck spoke about how it's an unfortunate side of the business and they just have to let it play out. And, so his words didn't exactly make you think, okay, he's coming back. And part of the mystery here is that Nikolai Ehlers himself has been, it's not something he really ever wanted to talk about during the season. He made it clear that he wanted to wait until the season was over to even kind of contemplate it. So, that hasn't happened until now, or won't start to happen until now. I'm not trying to avoid the question. I mean, to be honest, Huss, I feel like I don't know what percentage I categorize it as. I do feel that there's a greater percentage that he is not coming back than he is, but it's not like, I wouldn't say it's 90% or 80%. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm 60-40 on him not being back, just kind of reading the tea leaves, but I mean, I have to think there's teams out there that are going to potentially drive his price up. Not that the Jets have not cheaped out. That's not what they do. They spend to the cap, traditionally spend to the cap, and they have a great track record of re-signing their core guys. I do wonder, though, if Nikolai Ehlers is not going to be presented with offers that both in terms of term and a number from maybe a team that has a lot, that's in a very different place than, say, the Jets are, than what Winnipeg would be willing to do. And then it's ultimately, I guess, comes down to, what does Nikolai Ehlers want to do? Is it about the biggest term and the biggest contract? And who would blame him? We'd probably all jump at that in our, personal and professional lives. But is it just about trying to win now and in the next couple of years? So, like, again, if it's a Chicago or an Anaheim or whatever that comes along, and you're still looking at, okay, that they've got a long ways to go. Like, is that something that he's interested in? And I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. I suspect the Jets will take a run at trying to get him back. And, I don't think by any means is there like a fractured relationship or anything like that. I think Nikolai Ehlers genuinely loves Winnipeg, loves his teammates, loves this group. He's coming off personally what was a very good year, would have been a career year if not for an unfortunate injury. And then certainly in the second round, I think he shook the label that he's kind of worn, that he can't be he's not a big game playoff producer. And he showed that he can be. So, I think that was good for Nikolai Ehlers. That may ultimately be good for what his next contract looks like. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's maybe in the coin flip territory at this page. And I would probably lean more towards him not being back, but I certainly would not close the door at this point.
Let's fire that out to the chat right now. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray? What is your feeling? Do you think Nick Ehlers extends with the Winnipeg Jets? Let us know in the chat. We'll get your fan feedback coming up in a minute for fans first. I am all season long, Mike, I was sort of preparing myself for the likelihood that this would be the last year of Ehlers. And, with the way that they played and where they were in the standings, I was completely fine with not trading him. Listen, if he does leave, you're looking at a guy that was drafted in the first round and was here for 10 great years, extended with the club, played well, was a fan favorite. I will say this, though. Based on the success of the team this year, like what they were able to accomplish under this new coaching staff, the way Ehlers was used, being a key part of that power play, I certainly have the feeling like the chances are better today than I would have felt 2, 3, 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Because I really think what this comes down to one thing. Does Nikolai Ehlers want to stay in Winnipeg and want to stay as a member of the Jets as part of this team? And maybe the biggest asset that the Jets have going for them is the other guys in that room, the season that they just had, how good of a team this was. Because, listen, there's going to be plenty of suitors for Ehlers. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I mean, there's probably a team or two that will throw crazy money. Like, at the end of the day, he's going to get rich. He already is rich. He's going to be paid very, very well. But the question is going to be, Nick, do you want to stay here and continue moving forward and try and get to the goal that we've been working together with for a long time? And, like, if this had been at the end of last season, after that exit,
yeah,
I would have probably said, I think that ship has sailed. But I do think that what they were able to do together this year, the tightness of that group, of which he's a big part of, gives me at least more hope today than I think I would have had in another situation. And, listen, Chevy's done it multiple times before in, frankly, circumstances that I think were far less likely than Nikolai Ehlers is today.
Right.
to getting guys done on long-term contracts when unrestricted free agency was a possibility. But it's pretty clear. I mean, you've got Sandberg, you've got Velarde, they're RFAs. Like this, because this is the thing. If he does walk and all of a sudden Nikolai Ehlers isn't on this club, both on the power play, on your second line, in so many different ways, it is a hole that is just simply not replaceable, really, internally. And certainly I don't think there's anybody that you just sign in free agency, which is hard enough as it is for the Jets anyways, to come in and fill the big shoes at 27.
Yeah, it would drastically change the look of this team for sure. And, for folks who have maybe knocked Ehlers in the past, say that he's a guy, he doesn't show up in playoffs, he doesn't compete the way maybe you'd like. Look at what's the lasting image of Nikolai Ehlers? If this is truly the final goal he scored for the Winnipeg Jets, it's him out hustling Miro Heiskanen of all people to make that diving play into the empty net to seal the Game 5 victory in front of, a rabid crowd here in Winnipeg, and to send that series back to Dallas. And he had scored earlier in the game as well, a big game, second two-goal game of the playoffs. This is a guy who absolutely cares, Huss. And you're right. I think he doesn't just care about winning. He cares about his teammates, and he cares about this city. And that is a very likely a big attraction when it comes to, potential recruitment, if you will. And here's one other quick thing that, to me, who's Nikolai Ehlers' best friend in hockey? It's Patrik Laine. Patrik Laine is a guy, and I think he would be very upfront with Nikolai Ehlers. He's a guy that probably will attest to the fact the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And, we've seen examples of that, whether it's Andrew Kopp or what have you, where players have left Winnipeg. And then I think there's been some regret that, maybe what they had here was actually really good. So I got to think there's a lot of things that'll factor into his decision, but certainly his lived experience here in Winnipeg, I think, is a big one. And yeah, this year was a terrific year for him, for the team, and maybe it will ultimately be enough to keep him here.
Mike, great stuff. As they say, I have a feeling we'll be spending plenty more minutes and conversations on this program talking about one Nikolai Ehlers over the course of this next month. In the meantime, we'll wish him well with Denmark playing at home in the World Championships, and Danino Niederreiter as well. And look forward to hearing from Kevin Shoveldayoff, Scott Arniel, and I would imagine Captain Adam Lowry, amongst others, tomorrow down at the rink. Mike, thanks for everything, buddy. You have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
You bet. Take care.
All right, there's Mike McIntyre. All right, let's get to fan feedback, brought to you by Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. I know with Jets season over, there was no chance to get to Fans First for Game 7 last night. However, whether you're buying or selling Bomber tickets this year, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are on Fans First, and that's a service that can help fans 12 months a year. Check out the site today, fansfirst.ca. By fans, for fans, no fees. When you go to Fans First, what you see is what you pay. Let's see here. So lots of talk about what Ehlers will get. 6 years, $49 million. If he wants, I think he wants a top line role somewhere in the money that comes with it, in a place that doesn't want a cup-ready team discount. I mean, I don't know why people would assume anything for Nick. I mean, unless you've talked to him personally. There certainly hasn't been anything publicly that comes out. And I do think, Mike's point about the grass being greener, I think is very accurate. And listen, he's important enough to me. Like, I know BA says there's no way he gets 55 or 37 money. With the cap going up, I wouldn't rule out. I think that would be the ceiling. But 8.5 by 7, to be honest, right there set with the other stars in the team. If that was on the table for him, does he take that? I think I think there's a chance that he does stick around and stay. I certainly am hoping that it does. Rain says Ehlers will get 8+ easily. I mean, I on the open market, absolutely. And then BA, remember guys like Kopp, Laine, Trouba wanting to leave? How did that go? Well, Kopp never wanted to leave. He just wanted to get a contract. And they spent the money elsewhere and it wasn't available for him. Ehlers re-signing would be the best thing for the Jets to keep the window open. I doubt after the Pionk extension he's signing. I'm with you on the first bit, yours truly. I don't think there's any correlation between the Pionk extension to Nikolai Ehlers. And then Vincent Toba, salary cap is up and so will Ehlers' salary, 9 per. So anyways, keep your feedback coming for fans first, by fans, for fans. No fees. Well, hey, the hockey season's over, but Royal Sports is ready for summer. I know they've been all grabbing our jet gear and our whites for the playoffs. Well, guess what? Bomber season is here. All the new era Bomber merch is in right now, getting you ready for the upcoming season. You got tons of Blue Jays stuff. And, of course, soccer, baseball, softball, 12 months a year. They're the best spot for hockey. And tons of bikes coming in as well. So now that the season is over, pop on down to Royal Sports and get ready to dominate summer. And get ready for Blue Bombers season as well. 750 Pembina Highway. Give them a follow on Insta for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. And hey, while the Jets are out, we've still got 2 pretty interesting series. We'll get into those in the Coolbet lines. Jake Bolin Moss going to join me for that coming up in a few minutes. But the best place to watch it, of course, is your local Boston Pizza. That playoff menu ain't going anywhere. So tonight for the Panthers and Canes, tomorrow for the Stars and Oilers. If you're looking for a great spot to watch the game, saddle up at Boston Pizza. Check out all the great new items on the Boston Pizza playoff menu. And if you are staying at home, you can always order online at bostonpizza.com. All right, we got to get ready for fish season. Before that, a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, well, listen, with the hockey season over, we can now devote all of our attention to things like the Goldeyes home opener. The team is now 10 games into the regular season on that epic road trip. Now back at the friendly confines of Blue Cross Park. And 6:30 tonight, first pitch for fish season. Our pal Andrew Collier, GM of the Goldeyes, joins us now. And Cash, you like all of us, very disappointed at what happened with the Jets and obviously the heartbreaking nature of the Game 6 loss with Mark Scheifele. But we move on, and there's nothing to soothe the souls of heartbroken hockey fans like getting back out to the ballpark. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, that was heartbreaking for a number of reasons on Saturday night. Tough. I don't know how Mark even played that night, but he was a trooper. Went out there and gave it everything he had, just like the team. And what a year they had. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, it certainly was. It'll be a long off season. It'll give us lots to talk about. But as I mentioned, like everything, we move forward, and CFL's right around the corner. But tonight is the night that you and your staff have been working and preparing for all winter long, the home opener. And listen, some real tight games through this first 10 games on the road. I mean, you come back at 4-6, but playing some pretty good baseball and getting a pretty good idea about this Goldeyes squad that home fans will get a chance to see for the first time tonight.
Yeah, 4-6, and I think 5 of those 6 losses were by 1 run. But I like the team. Got some work to do on the pitching staff with a couple of our guys being hurt before they got here, and one guy getting hurt first day of camp. Logan's been scrambling to find arms, but we're thrilled to have Ben Anishko, Winnipeg's own, back on the team. He'll be in uniform tonight.
Oh, that is fantastic news. I mean, he was for folks that don't remember. I mean, last year the Goldeyes had arguably the greatest pitching staff, certainly in Goldeyes history, top to bottom, 1 to 4. But then Anishko came in, and like his ERA after 2 months was like 0.5 or something like that, Andrew. I mean, a guy that was utilized in so many different roles, going all the way to that final game of the championship series.
Yeah, I think his ERA was 0 for the first month of the season. He finally gave up a run. It was like, wow, that was his first run. He not only no runs, he wasn't giving up any hits at all. He was stellar in that already good bullpen for us last year. And Mexico's loss is our gain, and he's back, and he's excited to be here and ready to roll.
Well, listen, I mean, we'll see. I mean, obviously Max Murphy's back. Eddie Armstrong's had a nice start to the season. You know, a number of new pitchers, a number of new players. But it's the same ballpark, and a great promo right out of the gate tonight. The jerseys, I've been showing this one off since you gave it to me. But Andrew, fill people in on the giveaway tonight for the first 5,000 fans.
Yeah, first 5,000 fans get that beauty of a jersey. It's a little bit of a different look for us, but we wanted something unique for people to take home and keep and wear. Thanks to Manitoba Blue Cross and Impark for sponsorship on that jersey. We're really excited to do that tonight.
So doors open at what, 5:30?
Doors open at 5:30. First pitch will probably be about 6:45 after the opening lineups and stuff like that. But yeah, and then fireworks after the game.
Well, perfect. But get down there early and get your jersey and get ready for the for another great season of Goldeyes baseball. Kate, you've been through a lot of these home openers. This is, I mean, it's not the nicest day of the summer, but we're in pretty good baseball weather. What are the extremes of the opening day? Like, have we ever had like a 30-degree heater? And what's been the worst weather for the home opener that you can remember?
Worst weather, I think it was a couple of years ago, and it was like 2 degrees and 80-kilometer-an-hour winds. That was pretty bad. It's May in Winnipeg. You never know what you're going to get. Like 2 weeks ago, we had 35 degrees here, and then woke up this morning and it was 2. But I've been outside most of the day today. It's a beauty of a day. Like, it might get cooler tonight when the sun goes down, but right now it's great baseball watching weather.
It certainly is. I can't wait to get out to the ballpark tonight. We'll be there with a bunch of the fellas. What can you tell? What should we be looking for? If you were at the games last year, anything different with the ballpark? Food and beverage, which is always a very interesting topic on this program and a big part of going to Goldeyes games. What are you excited about for the upcoming season?
Well, craft beer corners back there again, and we have 4 great brewers on tap there, 8 different beers, and then 7 different beers in cans, plus a lot of other options. But if you're in the Sky Suite level, you'll notice that we remodeled, renovated a lot of the Sky Suite level. It's looking really good now. It was due for a refresh. Unfortunately, Big Smoke is out, but Famous Dave's came in to fill that spot.
Oh, so there's still barbecue at the ballpark.
Those who like that barbecue on their way down to Craft Beer Corner, they can still get their fill.
What about the pierogies?
Oh, he's still there. Just talked to him a few minutes ago.
Excellent. Well, we're going to be coming in hot. Mini donuts, of course. The Goldie dog, pizza. Geez, I'm already thinking about what we're going to need to take down tonight. The list is long from the start of the season.
Another new addition is fish bowls on first. If you go all the way down the first baseline, we're serving up fish bowls in a variety of different flavors. So you'll have to, I know you're not you're more of a beer guy, but take a walk down there and see what they have to offer.
Well, I might have to do that walk down for the first baseline and see about those fish bowls as well. Andrew, of course, tonight is the home opener, but we're just getting going on another great summer of Goldeyes baseball. Fill people in. I know we're going to be locking down our date for the WST patio party, but people, if they've got a company, they want to do an outing with you guys, whether it's in the Sky Suites, whether it's in one of those patio decks, tickets, groups. I mean, just give people an idea if they've been thinking about it but haven't done it yet, everything that your staff would love to help people out with to get some more butts in the seats.
Oh, for sure. Goldeyes.com has everything. You go into the ticket tab, we've got groups, patios, Sky Suites. Still selling mini packs. Or give us a call, 204-982-BASE, and somebody will help you out.
I'm predicting a homecoming Max Murphy bomb tonight for the Fish and a win. He's got 3 and 10 RBIs already. I mean, this guy, there's just nothing that can stop him.
Yeah, hitting 316. Yeah, he wasn't happy with the season last year. I think playing all winter in Mexico and then started the season in Mexico. He said by the end of last season he was tired, but he's coming in hot, and I think he's going to have a real good year.
Hey, listen, good luck to you, Logan, the entire squad tonight. Plan on being a regular fixture at the ballpark, starting with the home opener tonight. And again, folks, if you're going to the game, get there early, pop down to Craft Beer Corner, and make sure you get your hands on this beautiful Winnipeg Goldeyes jersey for the first 5,000 fans tonight at Blue Cross Park. First pitch just after 6:30, after we meet the team. And Andrew, here's to many visits, many wins, and another great season for the Goldeyes. Just need to win one more game this year than last year.
Exactly. It was a great year last year, going from worst to first, but we'd like to go all the way this time.
Thanks so much for doing this, pal. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Huss.
All right, there is Andrew Collier, GM of the Goldeyes. And again, Goldeyes.com, the entire offerings ticket-wise for the season coming up for you right now. And as I say, great night to get out to the ballpark, get our heads away from the crushing loss on the weekend and, just the heavy hearts around Mark Scheifele and the Jets, and get out there. Hey, listen, Jake Bolin Moss is going to join me for the Coolbet lines. I need a wellness check on Jake after what happened with the Leafs on the weekend. But let's do a Breezy Bend golf report. By the way, the golf report from Breezy Bend is absolutely phenomenal. They are getting ready to go for the Manitoba Open coming up in August. And right now, the course is looking beautiful. If you are interested in information on membership or getting on the waiting list at Breezy, go to breezybend.ca or give our pal Corey Johnson a call over at the clubhouse. As far as the golf report, of course, it's the PGA Championship. And how about Scotty Scheffler doing it again, winning his third major? He had 2 green jackets. Now he's got a Wanamaker trophy. He outlasts a group, including Bryson DeChambeau, who finished T2, and Taylor Pendy, who was my pick for top Canadian. That was one of the good picks that I had on the weekend, plus 320. And I actually used the Coolbet profit boost on that one. So that was a nice win. We had Bryson as the top live golfer. What we didn't have was Rory McIlroy doing very well. He did make the cut, but didn't speak at all. So a lot of sort of questions about Rory coming out of this event. But to the winner go the spoils, and Scotty Scheffler is the winner. An absolutely monster performance on the weekend to take down his third major championship. And, now he's starting to get into, historic levels. Like the way he's played over the last few years is as good as it gets. But once you start stacking up these major championships, you got a chance to to really be a part of history, and that's where Scotty is right now. Great stuff. Patty will join us on tomorrow's show. Charles Schwab coming up this weekend on the PGA Tour, and looking forward to his thoughts on Scotty winning his third major. All right, we'll get to our Assiniboia Downs coming up in a few minutes. But with our Coolbet lines, Jake and Patty are going to be popping on to chop it up with me a little bit more often. But, considering how down and, I think more down, like heartbroken, emotional about the end of the season, it was a similar result, but a very different story in Toronto. And I wanted to do a wellness check anyways on Jake Bolin Moss. So it's a good way to get him into the show today. JBM, this was not our weekend for either of our teams. How are you handling what was a bit of a disaster for the Buds there in Game 7?
Yeah, first off, can you hear me all right, Huss?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
I went to the laptop, and I never really go with the laptop. Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, listen, not ideal. You play Game 5 and 7 at home to back-to-back 6-1 losses. Like, not a pretty finish to the season. And I was just chatting with Patty, actually, and it might have taken some of the steam off the Winnipeg Jets. You guys seem pretty happy with how the season ended. And it's easy to look at Toronto and go, yeah, that's not really a way you want to go out. At least the Jets, took Dallas to overtime. Rough ending there with Scheifele in the box and all that was going on with him. And, my heart goes out to him. Like, that's such a tough spot to be in. But yeah, when it comes to Toronto, like, not a pretty finish to the season, but there is a little bit of like freeing. There's a freeing feeling knowing this is most definitely it for this, quote unquote core four.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is, not only the core of that team, but management. Brendan Shanahan. I'm sure Brad Treleving will still be around. I know Berube's going to still be around. And there are some guys that are signed, but it is fascinating thinking about the offseason and the future for Toronto in that, assuming that Mitch Marner walks as a free agent elsewhere, we'll see what happens with John Tavares. You're losing a big part of that offense. And while the Leafs have all the money, they can pay. It's not like these players of that caliber are often available in free agency. And, whether this is going to need to take a kind of step back, because this is the thing. And we can feel the same thing here. When you achieve what the team did through 82 games, you make it through the first round, you have an extended series with a team that just won the Stanley Cup in the Leafs fashion. There is a lot of good that they did, but man, it's just so hard to get over the way that season ended with the Game 5 faceplant, bringing people back in with that gutsy win on the road in Game 6, only to do it again, maybe in worse fashion before. And then, the one thing I think, the big difference between Winnipeg and Toronto, and even though the game ended on the road, I think people will look at the Jets at this season, and what they did, the way they played, and be legitimately like proud of that team and be looking forward, moving forward. And just from a fan perspective, that was one of the ugliest situations and scenes I can remember, with the jerseys and the beers on the ice and Mitch Marner getting booed. And just sort of crazy to think that it ended like this after the season the team had and the way they won to get it back to home ice for that 7th and deciding game against the Panthers.
Yeah, listen, it's a high standard in Toronto. The passion is high, and unfortunately, it can get ugly like that. I don't condone people throwing jerseys on the ice. I don't condone people throwing beers in the ice. But I also kind of get it. And Tavares actually said it in the postgame after Game 7. Like, he's like, there's a lot of passion here. He knows it. He grew up a Leaf fan. Like, there's a lot of passion here, and he kind of understands, like, the feeling people are having. Doesn't mean it's right in what some of the fans are doing. But at the same time, it's hard to blame them, given the way that the season kind of ended. And, the way that this whole era has been going. It's 9 years of a lot of the same stuff. Going deep in the first round and losing in 7. This team hasn't won a Game 7 in this era. Like 6 losses now, I think. in the Matthews-Marner era in Game 7s.
None of those guys have a goal
what
either.
It takes to close a series out in the. Yeah, that's how ugly it is. And it's just a situation where it's like, yeah, as much as you can't replace a Mitch Marner, 100-point kind of pace in the regular season, I just don't know if a player like him is built for a time like the playoffs. And, I could be wrong. He could go somewhere else and light it up and have great playoff series and maybe go on to win a Stanley Cup. For all the years I've watched at Huss, I just have a hard time seeing it. Like, he does not want to go to the areas you have to go to in the playoffs to win hockey games. And you watch Florida play, man, they are clinical. They go to every single area. They win every single puck battle. Their forecheck is unstoppable. It just keeps coming. And the way they even leave their own zone in the breakout, like, I'm sitting there watching it, it's boom, boom, and they're out of the zone and they're on an odd man rush immediately. Like, it's so fast. Their gap control is insane. Like, it's a really good hockey team. And, you never want to lose 6-1 in back-to-back home playoff games. But at the same time, it's like you're losing to a team that is at a top level. And I'll be interested to see what happens. Like, I think, middle of July, this is going to look a lot different for Toronto. And at the top of it, it's Mitch Marner.
Well, and listen, Marner's going to be a really interesting hockey topic. Just around the league with him being the top free agent. If they go down the route that they did the first time when they really kind of stuck it to the Leafs for every single penny, he'll be able to get paid. He'll be very, very rich. You may have to go to some crappy team with a lot of cap space and not a very good cup hope to get it, but it'll be there. It would be fascinating to see him go. I don't know how well this would go over in Toronto, but if he actually took less money and went to a team where he didn't have to go in and be the guy as much as being part of a team that already has kind of a winning culture and a great leadership group that's proven themselves before, and can he fit in that and be a part of it going forward? I really don't know, but it's safe to say, listening to anybody in the TO right now, it certainly seems like the chapter of Mitch Marner as a Toronto Maple Leaf, arguably the greatest homegrown Leaf of all time, has probably come to an end.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, I think no one more than Leaf fans wanted Mitch to succeed in this market. Like, that's since he's got here, like, and that's the pressure he's kind of held on to. And I think, unfortunately, either you're really good at taking on that pressure and taking the team to the next level, being that guy. But, since that second contract where, he holds out in the first couple of days of training camp to get every last cent he can from the organization. And, he gets his money. He's getting paid $11 million. And listen, great regular season success. You can't deny this guy is an unbelievable talent. But when it comes to the time that people really want this team to win, it seems like he shrinks and becomes a player that shouldn't be getting paid $11 million. And listen, if it's going to come down to money, a lot of talks around 13 and a half. I saw Remis quoting the analytics, AP Analytics, I think it's called. I think they have him projected at 7 years, $13 million. I just don't think that's going to fly here, unfortunately. And I listened to Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts, and he did say, like, there's a lot of belief around the league that he can get out of Toronto and, an a quieter market, and maybe that would help him with a little bit less noise. And all the power to Mitch. Like I said, I would have loved him to succeed in Toronto, but I think at this point, I just don't see how they can both go forward with a reasonable contract that's going to make sense for both sides. Just given the circumstance of what we've seen over the last, almost decade now.
Hey, listen, just before we get to the series that we're beginning tonight and tomorrow, the one other thing I'll ask you as a Leaf fan for your reaction to has been this narrative that is being pushed that the reason why the Leafs can't win Game 7s or with all their playoff futility is because it's a toxic market with toxic media and a toxic fan base. And this has been giving life. And listen, to the credit, I was listening to JD Bunkus yesterday and some others. Like, I think that is absolute hogwash, but it's being talked as if it is serious because it is being pushed by Paul Maurice, Brad Marchand, and Matthew Tkachuk. And listen, for Maurice to tell people, and listen, he always will make you know that he is the smartest guy in the room. For him to say that Game 5 was actually the second closest game of the entire, I mean, it's just patronizing. Like, do you not feel like you're still being trolled by the Florida Panthers after this series with all this business about how this is a great team, they're right there, but man, it's the media and the fans that are just holding them back?
Oh, absolutely, Huss. Like, all those quotes coming out post-game with Maurice and Marchand, like, they are the absolute best at trolling. You just have to ignore it. And, you know, it picks up steam as well, right? Then the media starts talking about it. You know, Craig Button went on and he talked about it, like, to sit here and say it's the fans' fault and the media's fault why these guys can't get it done is a bit insane. Like, what are we talking about? Like, the reality of it is, Huss, the fans don't get paid to play the games.
No.
They don't get paid to be out there. They don't make the big bucks to go win these hockey games. It's the players that get paid the big bucks. And if you want to get paid the big bucks, you got to be able to handle pressure. That is what sports is all about. It's every single sport in the world, every single team in the world, every single player in the world getting paid big money is going to feel some sort of pressure. It's how you handle the pressure. And guess what? This team has struggled to handle the pressure year after year after year. So it's not the fans' fault that they're passionate about their team. Nothing more in this world that Leafs fans want than this, to see this team succeed. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened. And that's what we're sitting here today looking at, you know, Mitch Marner probably out the door. You know, John Tavares aging out. You know, maybe he's taking a shorter contract to stay in Toronto. But it's like, I don't know if you can sit here and be like, it's the fans' fault. All respect to Maurice and Marchand, though, because they know exactly how to get under the skin of, you know, Leaf fans. They know how to get clicks in the media. These guys have been doing it for a long time. They know exactly what they're doing. And guess what? I'm sure Maurice would want nothing more than Marner to resign in Toronto and, you know, them to run it back another year. Guess what? They'll just do exactly what they did to Toronto in this previous series. As much as it's like, yeah, it got to Game 7, it was close. When it mattered most, Florida won hockey games and Toronto didn't.
Yeah, it's an all-time troll job by those guys. And, I mean, I felt sorry for you and the Leaf fans, you know, with just what your team did and didn't do in those two massive home games. But getting the salt on the wound and getting blamed for it by these fucking guys in the Panthers, I mean, it is it's a lot to take. All right, let's get to the conference finals. By the way, if you are playing at Coolbet, you know, whether for the golf coming up, for the hockey that's still going on, the NBA finals, make sure to go over to the promotions and look at the Take Your Swing, win the golf trip of a lifetime. Just make sure you opt in for that. This trip is incredible. Going to Cabot Links and Cabot Cape Breton. It's a trip which includes you and 3 guests, a foursome. You'll be playing the Nest. You'll be playing Cabot Links. You'll be playing Cabot Cliffs. Shuttles to and from, by rooms. It is one of the greatest prizes I've ever seen. If you're a golf fan, make sure you're getting in. Every $50 in the sports book, every $75 in the casino if you play there will earn you a raffle ticket. And that's going to run right up until Labor Day. So just make sure you opt in. You don't have to do anything else beyond that. And get in for the Cabot Cape Breton Coolbet golf trip of a lifetime. Coolbet's actually going to be involved in the RBC Scramble as well. We'll go out for some of the qualifiers around here.
Yeah, Huss, actually, you say that Andrew's at West right now. He's working some of those events, but this Cabot trip is incredible. Like, and it's so easy to sign up. If you're already a Coolbetter, like if you go to the bonus code tab right now, all you got to do is just opt in with Cabot 25. CABOT 25, and you're in. No matter what you're doing from there, if you're betting, you're getting tickets to this raffle, and you got a chance to go on this trip. This is a bucket list level trip, like probably the biggest one we've done, and it's nice that our partnership with the RBC Scramble and PGA of Canada has set this up for us. But if you're not getting involved, like you're going to be betting all summer. You might be betting, you know, MLB. You know, if we're able to get some Goldeyes games out, you're going to be betting some Goldeyes. Like, you got to be into this campaign. It only takes one opt-in. Just opt in once and you're in. Don't even think about it. We track everything in terms of your turnover in both the sportsbook and casino, and you'll be getting tickets on that leaderboard all summer long, basically until Labor Day.
Well, and listen, I mean, I think WSTers know I've been lucky enough to be involved in a couple of these, Coolbet trips and events, and they are just absolutely world class. But this one might be better than, I don't know. The Four Nations is going to be tough to beat, but I mean, if you're a golfer, I mean, we're talking about, I think the number 1 and 3 ranked courses in Canada, and literally 2 of the top ranked golf courses in the world. Anyways, get in on that. And again, if you're betting on the games tonight, opt in before, because we've got series totals and game totals for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's talk about the series first before we get into the games in game number 1. The Panthers minus 133 favorites after going the distance, 7 games with the Leafs. The Hurricanes have made short work of their opponents right now. They have home ice advantage, and yet the Canes are a plus 110 underdog. Florida minus 133, Jake. Listen, Carolina has been swept 3 straight times in conference finals, so their history is not good. And the Panthers sure look like they are going to be a tough out. But, man, 7 games, a very tough series against Toronto, a hungry Carolina team that has just demolished their opponents. Giving any love to the home ice team as a plus money underdog, or just after watching what you just did, it's pretty hard to go against the Panthers going back to their 3rd straight final?
Yeah, maybe it's like foggy Leaf brain that I think the Leafs are better than they are, but I'm just not sold on the Carolina Hurricanes, if I'm being honest with you. It's like, I don't know, listen, you don't apologize for who you play. Like, you're in a pretty good setup where, you get the New Jersey Devils who, were down Jack Hughes. I think Dougie Hamilton got hurt, maybe Luke Hughes got hurt. Pretty easy road there. Capitals, I think all year you and I, Huss, were, not as high on the Capitals as, others might have been. Pretty strong team in terms of standings, but when push came to shove, didn't feel like they had the juice in that Carolina series. So the positive for Carolina is they have the rest. They haven't played as many games, but you look at this Florida team, man, they're just war torn. They're just ready for this moment. They do not shy away from any big moments. And the minute they get up on you, Huss, it's relentless. You remember that old Paul Maurice clip from, a couple playoffs ago where, they were up a couple goals and he's like, we're up 2-0. Hammer their D. I don't want their D.
Yeah.
I want them to feel it by the end of the series. And that's kind of how they play. The minute they got up a goal, Huss, good luck catching up to this team. That first goal is so important. We saw it in a lot of the games in Toronto, outside of game 3, where I think it's really where the Leafs lost the series, not to go back. But, Florida is just a team, I think, on a different level, especially when it comes to playoff hockey. I have a hard time not seeing them win this series. I'm all over that minus 133. I think I was surprised. Gus, the bookies, for whatever reason, have loved this Carolina Hurricanes team.
Oh, yeah.
Every time we saw them on the Stanley Cup number all year, it's like, who's betting that number? Way too short of odds. And, I could absolutely be wrong because I've been wrong plenty before, but I think Florida's just built more for this moment. And I think it's going to be quite a shock in this first game for Carolina to go from, New Jersey, Washington to the way this Florida team plays. I mean, you saw what they did to Tampa. They dismantled Tampa in 5 games, no problem. And then obviously the Leafs series, you saw those game 5, game 7, those were clinic games in big deciding moments.
Listen, I'm sort of with you. It's hard to go against the Panthers. I think it'll be a fascinating series. If you haven't watched any of the Panthers, and I don't think many people have paid attention, to the Hurricanes, their first 2 series, you want to talk about relentless. This is going to be really fascinating to see how it breaks down, because neither team is in the business of giving anybody any room, any ice, and any time with the puck. I do like Carolina tonight. I think they're going to be incredibly focused going into game 1 this evening. I think Florida, is going to, they know what they got to do. They got to get a win sometime in these home games. I think we're going to see what a 2-week, 7-game series does to a team. against a team that, first and foremost, just focused on winning a game. So I like Carolina, minus 125 tonight. Florida's plus 106. The total in the game is 5.5. But I'll be riding with the Canes for game one at minus 125. And all the series totals are up right now. I mean, Brad Marchand's goals in the series is over 1.5. I'll probably get on that. He's been really, really good so far this playoffs. Has just fit in so well. Reinhardt's goal total is 2.5. Winnipeg Seth Jarvis, plus 135 on over 2.5. And his points for the series is 5.5 as well. So get in on all that before puck drop tonight if you want any series. And then we've got Dallas and Edmonton. And, I have seen this. Yesterday on Coolbet, Edmonton was minus 115 and Dallas was minus 105. It's now going a little bit more in the Oilers' favor at minus 119 to minus 101. Jake, listen, I think Dallas, if they're going to beat Edmonton, they're going to have to. I mean, the Jets did a really good job of shutting down the Matt Duchene line. I mean, it was essentially Rantanen in one game, Granlund in another, and a really effective power play and Jake Ottinger that beat the Winnipeg Jets. I think it's going to take a lot more to beat Edmonton, and I have to admit, after they got through their near-death experience against LA in round number 1, I didn't see them dispatching of Vegas as quickly and seemingly as easy as they did, but this team really seems to be on a mission, and I have to say it, I think for Dallas, this is going to be a third straight trip to the conference finals that doesn't end up with a trip to the Stanley Cup. Who you got in the series?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Edmonton has been really impressive, especially after, the goaltending situation where, Skinner comes in, has a terrible start, and they go to Pickard, and all of a sudden things seem to be going well there, and then they lose Pickard, and they got to go back to Skinner, and then Skinner has a couple great starts, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like, what is happening in Edmonton right now? It almost feels similar to, Florida 2 years ago, where they go to the Cup final, and things don't go their way, and they lose to Vegas, and they come back with a vengeance. And you got to remember, I know that Stanley Cup final last year went 7 games. They were up 3-0 on Edmonton, or 3-1, 3-0.
3-0.
3-0. That's what I thought. So they're up 3-0 on Edmonton in the Stanley Cup final. Like, they were on a mission, and it feels like Edmonton's turn to be on their mission right now. I imagine the numbers moving a bit, probably because we got a lot of Edmonton fans getting on their team at the minus 115. That's where you see it go to minus 119. Goaltending, I do give the edge to Dallas. Defense, I probably give the edge to Dallas. But the one thing Dallas doesn't have is Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. They have Mikko Rantanen, who's been incredible this playoffs. But is that going to be enough? They got great depth as well. I just have a hard time. I think I said this to you, probably a month and a half ago. I just have a hard time betting against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, especially what they've gone through to get to this point. And it seems like they're only getting better the way that Vegas series went. So I'm super intrigued by this Western Conference series. I have the Panthers. I think the Panthers take care of Carolina pretty easy. I think this one's going at least 6, though, between Dallas and Edmonton, and I wouldn't be surprised if it goes the distance.
Yeah, Oilers in 6 is something I like in this winning at home. Dallas is good enough to get a couple games, but I do think I wouldn't be surprised if we got a rematch of last year's 7-gamer, which I think a lot of hockey fans would be in. Anyways, everything's up there at Coolbet for the Stanley Cup Playoffs series and totals. We'll pick the game tomorrow. We do have NBA conference finals starting tonight. What a wild, things aren't fixed when it comes to the markets. Well, the Knicks are in. Other than that, Indiana, Oklahoma City, Minnesota. But tonight we've got the T-Wolves and the Thunder. Thunder absolutely smashed Denver in Game 7. They are back at home. They're minus 294 on the money line. But, Jake, I got to be honest. I think I'm going to lay the 7 on the Thunder tonight just to carry that momentum from Game 7 right into Game 1 and potentially run the T-Wolves out the building.
Yeah, listen, hard not to root for the Thunder right now if you're Canadian. They got 2 Canadian guys, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Dort. SGA is driving the ship for this team right now. A young, young team who's had a great season, ton of wins in the regular season, and they've showed out, beating the Denver Nuggets like a former champion in recent years. And they're favored like this in every single game, Huss. I swear, like, they were like double-digit favorites in the last round in certain games against Denver. Like, pretty, they get a lot of love from the book. Anthony Edwards, great player in Minnesota. Julius Randle's been having a great playoffs as well, but I think it's going to be hard to knock off this Thunder team. I'd love to see them in the final. And then you look at the other side, we got Pacers and Knicks, an old rivalry. You go back to, if you ever seen the 30 for 30 winning time, Reggie Miller versus the Knicks, one of my favorite 30 for 30s. Like, there were some really, really good series in their past. I'm sure there's no love lost between both these franchises. And, the Knicks, those Knicks fans, man, you think like Toronto fans are crazy and psychotic and insane. Those Knicks fans are just as crazy, psychotic and insane as Leaf fans. So
those scenes in New York after Game 6, that would have been the scene in Toronto if the Leafs had beaten the Panthers. It's that sort of devotion. And again, similarly, the reason why it means so much is that they've gone through this 25-year period of doing basically nothing, of being mismanaged, of never being in the conversation, and now they're here. The series price for this Knicks Pacers is New York minus 152, Indiana plus 123. I'm pulling for the Pacers in this one. Speaking of Canadians, you got Nembhard there. Nesmith, I believe, is also a Canadian. And our old buddy Pascal Siakam. And for you WWE fans, this was foreshadowed last year when Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton were in a WWE ring squaring off along with Logan Paul and LA Knight. Triple H maybe has done the script for this series, but I'm going to be pulling for Indiana. That game goes tomorrow. But tonight it's the T-Wolves and the Thunder. I'm going to jump on OKC -7. Futures, by the way, for the thing, what do we got? Oklahoma City's the big favorite at -182. And then you got the Knicks plus 475, T-Wolves 550, Pacers 650. Jakey, good stuff, man. Always love chatting with you today. Bit of a therapy session for both of us. We'll get back at it. We'll talk Jays and more coming up throughout the summer with you. But hang in there, and we'll catch up soon, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Huss. Thanks for having me.
You got it. There's Jake Bolin-Moss, at Jake Bolin-Moss on X. Give him a follow. And, of course, give at Coolbet Canada a follow. Jake will be cranking out a bunch of great stuff on that throughout the conference finals. And we'll go from there. All right. We have one more order of business to do today. And that, Remis, is to get ready for the track. Because we're back. Live racing at Assiniboia Downs continues. I'm going to try and get out there tomorrow because tonight, of course, is the Goldeyes home opener. But that doesn't mean you can't, like we will be doing right now, making our selections for tonight's races at ASD and keeping an eye with Kirk and Stretch on the Assiniboia Downs YouTube channel as well. Remo, what are you cooking up for the picks for tonight as we try and get in the win column to begin this season?
Yeah, let me just bring up my picks here. Both of us winless on the year after 2 live racing nights. So, hey, great to have live racing back. They showed to the Sea Bears. They won their opening game on Friday. The Bombers, Huss, not in action until Saturday. First preseason game. We had a preseason game yesterday.
That caught me so off guard.
Yeah.
BC and Calgary.
I heard that. So, wild stuff here as, the hockey. I'm still in hockey mode. We're kind of winding it down, but the summer sports are beginning. Sorry, I'm just, as you can tell, I'm pulling up my picks here. I've got 4 races tonight. I'm on race 3, 5, 6, 7. I will start race 3. Oh, let me end this poll. 56% of people, 300 votes, think Ehlers back. We'll be back with the Jets next year. So race 3, I'm picking horse 5 to win. Commandos Last Dance. I got that one. Horse 5. You want me to just go through all of them?
Yeah, go through yours, and then I'll fire off mine.
Race 5, 2-6 exacta box. Del Vecchio is always a contender and designated hitter, the DH, for Goldeyes opening night. I got that one. And race 6, 2-3 exacta box. Frankly, and 2 left to load. I love when Kurt says that one. And then race 7, just a straight winner. Horse 4, Dare to Endure. One of the, I guess it's the second on the program selections in a long field. So you never know here.
All right. So I am on. Let me just pull up my transactions here. Race 2. I'm going $5 on number 2 to win. That is Tree Hugger. In race number 5, I'm going to put $5 on number 2 to win. That is Del Vecchio, one of our favorites. I think this might be the same bet that you just put. I'm doing a $2 exacta box in race number 6 on 2-3, Frankly, and 2 left to load. So that'd be nice if we can both come in there with that, which brings me to race 7. And I will save my triactor box for this one. It looks like Suit Me Up Charlie is one of the favorites. So I'll go with Suit Me Up Charlie, number 2. Let's see. Dare to Endure. We'll do a 2-4-9 parlay. I'm not going to go with the full favorites. We'll leave out Northern Echo. We'll go with Big Walk, which is number 9. So that'll be a $6 bet, which will take me to $20. Always like to do the triactor box on that final one. So there you go. HPIBet.com if you do want to remotely bet on the horses over at Assiniboia Downs. But I would suggest you get down to ASD. Make plans in advance. Book a spot in the clubhouse dining room. Get on that delicious prime rib buffet. All the food there is amazing. Of course, free parking, free admission. Bring a couple tooties and see if you can get a big one with our friends at Assiniboia Downs. Back at it tomorrow for another day of live racing. And tonight, I know we move on from hockey season. Bomber training camp continues. We'll get all over that in the coming days. Tomorrow, much more from the Winnipeg Jets, including Adam Lowry, Kevin Cheveldayoff, Scott Arniel. And tonight, Fish home opener. Don't forget, get there early and be one of the first 5,000 fans to get your hands on one of these beautiful Goldeyes jerseys that they're getting out today. Great show, everyone. Again, it's been a great season. We appreciate everyone joining us for the playoff games, but you know that now into our 5th year, we're not going anywhere. Every single day, 1 p.m., right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. We'll be talking Jets, talking Bombers, talking all the big stories locally, as well as around the world of sports. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Remis doing a great job getting all those clips. We'll have plenty more from Jet Cleanout Day tomorrow on the program. And again, thanks to Jake and Mike McIntyre and Andrew Collier for jumping on today. And again, good luck to the Fish on their home season tonight. That is going to do it. Maybe we'll see you at the ballpark tonight. If not, we'll see you tomorrow right here, 1 o'clock on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Thanks for being with us, everyone.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.